He fought for his country, led missions that saved lives, but today, he couldn't even check into a hotel room. They didn't see a hero, they only saw his skin. Now pause for a second. Where are you watching from? What time is it right now? Let us know in the comments, and while you're here, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to share your thoughts below. One phone call, that's all it took. He didn't raise his voice. He raised consequences, because the man they rejected was about to cancel their $100 billion deal. Stick around, because the twist at the end will leave you speechless. The sun was just beginning to set over Manhattan, casting gold and orange streaks across the skyline. The Bentley Mulsanne eased to a stop outside the towering glass facade of the Grand Lexington Hotel, one of the most prestigious luxury stays in the city. The valet rushed forward, expecting a celebrity or royalty. What he didn't expect was a tall, well-built black man in his mid-40s, dressed in a plain black polo, khaki trousers, and polished combat boots. He stepped out calmly, sunglasses still on, and walked around to open the back door for an aging German shepherd. "Come on, Diesel," he said gently. The valet blinked as the dog stepped out and stood neatly beside the man, tail wagging slightly. Trained and alert, "Welcome to the Grand Lexington, sir," the valet said, slightly unsure. "Can I help you with your bags?" The man reached into the back seat and pulled out a slim black duffel and a silver briefcase. "No need. I'll carry them." He walked up the marble steps into the gleaming lobby. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, and the scent of eucalyptus hung subtly in the air. He paused at the reception desk as a sharply dressed woman behind the counter looked up, then did a double take. Her smile faltered just slightly. "Good evening. Do you have a reservation?" she asked. "Yes. Under Anthony Briggs." She began typing. Her fingers slowed as her eyes glanced at Diesel, who sat obediently by his owner's side. "Pets are not allowed on the VIP floors." Briggs didn't react. "He's a certified service dog. All paperwork is on file with the reservation." She didn't check. Instead, she stiffened. "One moment, sir." She walked to a supervisor standing near the back, whispering quietly. The supervisor, a man in a tailored navy blue suit, looked over Briggs's way with a slight frown, then he walked over. "I'm afraid there's been a mistake," the manager said with practiced smoothness. "The VIP suite has been overbooked." Briggs tilted his head. "Overbooked?" "Yes, unfortunately. We can offer you a standard room on the 6th floor." Briggs didn't move. "The suite was confirmed weeks ago. Paid in advance. I also spoke to management about Diesel. Everything was approved." "I understand, sir, but it seems there was a system error." Briggs studied the man's face. "A system error? That conveniently happened just now." "I'm sorry, sir. We're doing our best to accommodate all our guests." A couple walked past, white, wealthy-looking. The staff greeted them warmly and handed them gold room keys marked Penthouse South. Briggs noticed. "I see. So it's not about the dog." The manager didn't blink. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to calm down." "I'm calm," Briggs replied evenly. "I'm just watching how you treat people who look like me." "Sir, if you don't lower your voice, I'll have to call security." Briggs looked down at Diesel, then back at the manager. "Call whoever you like." The manager stepped aside and spoke into his headset. Moments later, 2 hotel security guards approached. "Is there a problem, Mr. Briggs?" One asked gruffly. "No problem at all," Briggs said. "I was just leaving." He turned calmly and walked toward the exit. Diesel followed without a sound. But as he walked through the glass doors, he paused, pulled out his phone, and dialed. "Cynthia, it's Tony. I'm going to need you to cancel our contract with the Grand Lexington." "Yes, the entire contract." "No, I don't care what stage we're at. Find another venue." He paused, eyes still on the building. "Also, inform the Defense Procurement Committee that we'll be shifting the $100 billion hospitality package to another hotel group." By morning, the Grand Lexington Hotel's front desk was swamped, not with guests, but with media inquiries. It started small, a single tweet from an anonymous source, then a post on LinkedIn with the hashtags #veterandisrespected and #contract-cancelled. But by 8:17 a.m., every major financial and political news outlet was calling. inside the executive office on the 20th floor, General Manager Derek Monroe was already in damage control mode. His tie hung loose, and the espresso in his hand had long gone cold. "How bad is it?" he asked, not looking up from his screen. His assistant stammered. "The man you turned away, Anthony Briggs, he wasn't just a guest. He's a former U.S. Army Special Ops commander. And currently head of Vanguard Strategies. They oversee multi-billion-dollar contracts with defense, energy, and hospitality vendors." Derek blinked. "That's impossible. He had a VIP suite reserved under his name. Prepaid. Cleared. You flagged it. Then called security. I thought he was some activist or fake service dog case. He had that look, boots, dog, no suit. How was I supposed to know? You didn't check. And now he's withdrawn a government contract that was awarding us $100 billion over the next 5 years." Silence. Derek's hand trembled slightly as he set down his coffee. "Pull up the contract." "We already tried. It's gone." His assistant issued a statement this morning, due to discriminatory treatment. Vanguard Strategies will no longer associate with the Grand Lexington or any of its affiliates. Derek's mouth went dry. "What do we do?" His assistant looked away. "We have a bigger problem." Back at Vanguard Strategies' sleek high-rise in D.C., Briggs walked through the glass doors into a war room of analysts, lawyers, and government liaisons. His assistant, Cynthia, trailed him, iPad in hand. "Sir, DOD just confirmed they're aware of the incident. They've requested a closed-door debrief. Also, 3 competing hotel chains have sent urgent proposals hoping to take Lexington's place." "Good. Have our legal counsel draft a public statement. Something firm, but dignified. We're not here for a media brawl, we're setting a standard." He dropped his briefcase on the glass table. "Any direct messages from Lexington?" "They sent a senior apology. Claimed it was an individual manager acting out of line." Briggs nodded. "Tell them I'll consider meeting. If they replace that entire management team first. Otherwise, they can keep their apology." Just then, his office door swung open. A tall woman in uniform stepped inside. Lieutenant General Rose Harper, Department of Defense liaison and Briggs' longtime friend from deployment. "You really did it this time," she said, arms folded. Briggs smirked. "Did what?" "Made half the Pentagon spit their coffee this morning." He raised a brow. "I didn't even raise my voice." "You didn't have to. That hotel's been flaunting government deals and photo ops with vets for years. And the one time an actual combat vet walks in, they play judge and jury." Briggs looked down at Diesel, who rested peacefully by the corner. "We've both seen worse, Rose. But this isn't about me. It's about the thousands who won't speak up, or don't have leverage. You turning this into a policy issue? I'm turning this into a wake-up call." At the Grand Lexington, chaos was spilling out from the lobby. Protesters had gathered, veteran groups, civil rights organizations, and even hotel staff who were tired of the toxic culture behind the scenes. TV vans parked in a row along the street. Reporters swarmed. Inside, Derek paced. "We need a press conference, now. Full apology. Mention diversity training, disciplinary actions." "It's too late," his assistant said. "This isn't just a PR hit anymore. Vanguard's move triggered a full DoD contract review. They're going through every hotel connected to us. This could go national." Derek ran both hands through his hair. "What do I say?" The assistant looked out the window at the protesters. "Maybe start with, 'I'm sorry I didn't respect the man who bled for this country.'" Across town, inside a DC broadcast studio, a respected journalist looked into the camera. "Tonight, a former Army commander and business leader is making headlines, not for war, but for walking away." Anthony Briggs, a decorated black veteran, was denied his reserved suite at the Grand Lexington. His only crime? Looking too ordinary for the VIP floor. The screen split to photos of Briggs in uniform, flanked by soldiers, followed by a clip of him in civilian clothes with Diesel. But here's the twist: the hotel didn't know who they were turning away. Briggs is more than a veteran, he controls one of the largest defense strategy contracts in the country. And today, he pulled out of a $100 billion deal. With the stroke of a phone call. Later that evening, Briggs sat quietly on his penthouse balcony, overlooking the lights of the Capitol. Diesel rested beside him. Eyes closed, Cynthia stepped outside with her phone. You ready for tomorrow's meeting with the Senate Ethics Committee? Briggs nodded slowly. This is bigger than one hotel. They turned away a vet with medals in his jacket because he didn't fit their image of power. He looked down at Diesel. They judged a man who looked like me. And forgot I helped build the world they'd profit from. The marble floors of the Capitol echoed under polished shoes and clicking heels as Anthony Briggs walked through the corridor of the Senate building. His navy blue suit was tailored but modest, a red, white, and blue lapel pin resting over his heart. Diesel walked beside him, leashed but calm, drawing quiet admiration from staffers and guards alike. Briggs had testified in front of war tribunals, defended international contracts worth billions, and briefed presidents, but today felt different. He wasn't here for war. He was here for justice. At the doors of the Senate Committee on Government Oversight, Cynthia leaned in. They've read everything. Press, contracts, public response. You have full support from half the panel. But Senator Wallace is pushing back, hard. Briggs gave a slight nod. Let him push. The doors opened. Senators filled the curved bench in front of him. The room had that icy calm of high-stakes hearings. Photographers snapped quick shots before the chairman banged the gavel. We welcome Mr. Anthony Briggs to the floor. Briggs sat down. Diesel lay by his feet, his calmness making the room strangely still. Chairman Gonzalez adjusted his mic. Mr. Briggs, we understand you're not just here regarding your experience at the Grand Lexington, but to address a larger pattern. Briggs leaned forward. Yes, sir. What happened to me wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a decision. A decision made based on assumption, bias, and image. But this isn't just about my humiliation, it's about a culture of silent discrimination hiding behind luxury and privilege. Senator Wallace scoffed. You expect us to believe a single hotel incident qualifies as systemic? Briggs turned to him. No, Senator. I expect you to read the data I submitted. 8 documented cases in the last 2 years of veterans of color being denied VIP access despite valid reservations. 5 were told their dogs weren't welcome, certified service dogs. 2 were flagged as suspicious based on appearance alone. Wallace shifted uncomfortably. Briggs continued. When institutions benefit from federal contracts, they agree to standards of conduct. If they violate that agreement, they violate the trust of the American people. At that same moment, live coverage of the hearing was trending across every major platform. Clips of Briggs' testimony spread like wildfire. Veteran denied, now leading national oversight reform. Anthony Briggs challenges luxury discrimination in federal Senate hearing. Outside the Capitol, a growing crowd of veterans held signs. Respect all who served. You can't profile patriotism. Service looks like this. Beneath a printed photo of Briggs and Diesel, media vans lined the block. Tourists and passers-by gathered, pulled in by the story of one man challenging an entire industry. Inside the hearing, Chairman Gonzalez leaned forward. Mr. Briggs, what are you requesting from this committee? Briggs responded without pause. Mandatory cultural bias training for all hospitality chains receiving government contracts. Immediate audits of complaint logs related to veteran treatment. And a federal registry for flagged service animal cases, so no disabled veteran is humiliated at a front desk ever again. A murmur spread across the room, and finally, Briggs added, an amendment to the Federal Vendor Compliance Act, stating that any contractor found guilty of discriminatory treatment loses eligibility for government deals for 5 years. Even Wallace didn't speak. The chairman nodded. Your requests are noted. This committee will move forward with deliberations. As Briggs stood to leave, the room unexpectedly rose with him. Back at the Grand Lexington, panic had taken over. The lobby was nearly empty now. Reservations were being cancelled by the hour. A class action lawsuit had just been filed by a coalition of veterans' rights groups. And to make things worse, Briggs' federal policy proposal was being fast-tracked for debate. Derek Monroe slammed a folder shut. Who knew one man could cost us the government? The assistant across from him whispered, that's the problem. He wasn't just one man. Derek's phone buzzed again. A new notification popped up. Vanguard ends all partnerships with Lexington-affiliated brands. 6 hotels, 3 resorts, 2 airlines, gone. In less than 72 hours, in a penthouse office overlooking D.C., Lieutenant General Rose Harper met with 3 members of the Joint Chiefs. They weren't smiling. This isn't just bad press, one said. This could shift the entire procurement process. Harper poured coffee without looking up. Good. It's about time. They raised an eyebrow. She turned to face them. Briggs didn't start this fight. He just refused to be quiet about it. We've protected too many vendors who only care about our money, not our people. Another general sighed. And now? Harper pulled out a dossier. We back Briggs' proposal. We changed the rules. And we send a message: disrespecting veterans isn't a PR problem, it's a national one. Meanwhile, Briggs sat in his office once again, the city lights glowing outside. Cynthia walked in with a tablet. You've been requested for a national town hall next week. Every major network. He looked up. Already? They want your voice. You gave them a reason to believe again. Briggs nodded slowly, looking at Diesel. I didn't do this to be a hero. I just wanted a bed. A fair check-in. She smiled. And ended up checking an entire industry. 3 days after Anthony Briggs' Senate testimony, a secret meeting was held in the private boardroom of the Metropolitan Hotel Alliance in New York City. The chairs were filled with CEOs, lobbyists, and lawyers, power players representing some of the most luxurious hospitality brands in the world. And every one of them had a reason to be nervous. We're bleeding contracts, snapped Mr. Linwood, chairman of the Eastern Grand Properties. Federal accounts are pulling out one by one. The Briggs effect is real. A woman at the end of the table adjusted her glasses. It's not just government contracts. Veteran groups, influencers, and even Fortune 500 clients are jumping ship. Hashtags don't just trend, they cancel. Someone else chimed in. We underestimated him. We thought he'd make a scene, maybe file a lawsuit. We didn't expect a movement. Silence, then Linwood spoke again, slower this time. So what's the counter-strategy? The PR executive leaned forward. We spin it. We launch a Veterans First initiative. Highlight all the good we've done. Flood the internet with our own stories. And if we're smart, we create a narrative where Briggs overreacted. The legal officer shook his head. You try that, it'll backfire. The man has footage, allies in the Senate, and national media on his side. If we antagonize him, he might testify again. And next time, he won't be alone. The room fell quiet once more. Because deep down, they all knew, the storm had already broken. Now they were just trying to stay afloat. Meanwhile, in D.C., Briggs met with the director of federal vendor compliance in a quiet chamber lined with soundproof glass and walls of files. We've reviewed your proposal, the director said. And I'll be honest, Anthony, it's the boldest revision of federal hospitality protocol we've seen in decades. Briggs nodded. Then maybe it's time. We already started implementation at 4 major branches. The registry for service animal validation is being built. And the bias training requirement? That's being written into every new vendor contract going forward. Briggs kept his expression even. And what about enforcement? We're launching a task force, the director replied. And we want you to help lead it. Briggs blinked. Me? You understand both the system and the streets. We need someone who knows what it means to serve, and what it means to be dismissed after serving. Briggs looked down at Diesel, who gave a soft huff from his corner. I'll do it, he said. At Vanguard Strategies headquarters, Cynthia walked briskly through the hall holding a stack of folders. Tony, CNN confirmed the town hall. NBC wants a solo sit-down. And 3 hotel brands are requesting private meetings. I think they're ready to talk. Briggs glanced up from his laptop. Which ones? Regency Elite, Orion Properties, and Sterling Worldwide. He leaned back. They blacklisted me 2 years ago. Well now, she said, smirking, they're trying to look woke before the Senate hits the vote. He chuckled. Tell them I'll meet, with cameras rolling. Back at the Grand Lexington Hotel, the lobby was eerily quiet. The once bustling concierge desk now handled more refunds than check-ins. The decor looked the same, polished marble, gold trim, elegant chandeliers, but the energy had shifted. Derek Monroe stood outside a conference room, staring at a legal team prepping documents. Do you really think this lawsuit has legs? He asked, his assistant grimaced. We're looking at civil rights violations. contract fraud, and emotional damages tied to federal discrimination. That's 3 different courts. Derek's phone buzzed. Another alert, Briggs named special advisor to Federal Hospitality Reform Task Force. He dropped the phone. It clattered on the floor. Across the room, staff whispered, the general manager of the Grand Lexington, the man who ordered security on a veteran, was now facing a potential class action suit and the wrath of every veterans group in the country. At a national veterans rally in Atlanta, over 30,000 former service members gathered in unity. On stage, a series of speakers took turns sharing stories of quiet rejection, airport security hassles, denied hotel bookings, awkward restaurant moments. Then came Anthony Briggs. As he stepped onto the stage, the crowd fell silent. I didn't come here to talk about myself, he began. I came here because too many of us came home only to be treated like outsiders. We traded uniforms for silence. We lowered our heads and kept walking. He looked out at the sea of faces. Not anymore. Thunderous applause erupted. Briggs continued. I'm not here to cancel hotels. I'm here to raise standards. I'm here so the next veteran, black, white, Latino, woman, disabled, doesn't get measured by anything other than their name and their service. Behind him, the screen displayed the new Veteran Vendor Protection Act. Up for final vote in Congress the following week. That night, as Briggs returned home, he was greeted by an envelope slipped under his door, no return address. Inside, a handwritten letter. Mr. Briggs, I was the valet who saw you arrive that night. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I knew what they were doing was wrong, but I didn't speak up. I've since resigned. Thank you for standing up. You gave me courage to do the same, Devon. Briggs stared at the letter for a moment, then placed it beside his military medals. He didn't need to be a general or a CEO to make a difference. He just needed to stand his ground. The Capitol dome stood tall under the bright midday sun. Inside, the Senate floor was at full capacity. Press lined the balconies, cameras clicked, and whispers danced through the chamber like sparks. The Veteran Vendor Protection Act was up for its final vote. At the center of the room, Anthony Briggs sat quietly beside Diesel. Across the aisle, representatives and senators shuffled papers and checked final notes. Some still questioned the reach of the bill. Others feared the backlash from powerful corporate donors, but Briggs wasn't concerned about political games. He was focused on one thing, dignity. Chairman Gonzalez tapped his gavel. We now move to final vote. The screen lit up with names. And one by one, the green lights filled in, 78 in favor. 22 opposed. The bill passed. The room erupted, not with applause, but a stunned silence, followed by handshakes, backpats, and a few visible tears from veterans in attendance. Briggs exhaled deeply. Diesel nuzzled his leg. It was done. 2 weeks later, the Grand Lexington Hotel released a statement announcing the resignation of Derek Monroe and its entire executive leadership. The board cited a failure of values and promised a full rebranding, but it was too late. The U.S. government had cut ties permanently, and with the passage of the bill, over $300 billion worth of contracts across 92 hotel brands were now tied to strict anti-discrimination compliance. The hospitality industry would never operate the same way again. Meanwhile, in a quiet conference room overlooking the Potomac River, Briggs sat at the head of a round table. Representatives from Hilton, Marriott, Sterling, and smaller regional chains all leaned in. Let me be clear, Briggs said. This isn't a witch hunt. This is a chance for you to lead the change instead of reacting to it. The CEO of Orion Resorts nodded. We're ready to listen. And fix it. Briggs leaned back. Then let's talk about veteran housing programs. Let's talk about disability access. And let's talk about training that's real, not just a checkbox. Every pen in the room started moving. Back at Vanguard Strategies, Cynthia burst into Briggs' office with a grin. You ready for this? He looked up. What now? She tossed a document on the desk, a new $1.2 billion federal contract proposal. They want us to run bias audits and vet compliance programs across every federal hospitality partner in the country. Briggs raised an eyebrow. Us? She nodded. They trust you. You built the blueprint. He chuckled. Guess that hotel did me a favor after all. That evening, Briggs walked Diesel down a quiet street in Arlington. As they passed a modest hotel with a small flag hanging out front, a young black Marine stood at the entrance, arguing with the clerk about a room error. Briggs stopped. The clerk raised his voice. We don't have anything else available. Briggs stepped forward. Is there a problem? The clerk looked up, annoyed, then froze. Mr. Briggs? The Marine blinked. Wait. The Anthony Briggs? Briggs gave a slight smile. Let's fix this. The clerk stammered. I didn't know. You shouldn't have to, Briggs interrupted. Fix the reservation. Respect the man. The clerk scrambled. Minutes later, the Marine was holding a keycard, room upgraded, with an apology. As the Marine turned to thank Briggs, he said, I don't know what you did, but, thank you. Briggs rested a hand on his shoulder. Now, you go get that rest. You earned it. Later that night, Briggs stood on his balcony. City lights stretching for miles. He glanced at Diesel, now older but still strong, and opened a notebook filled with letters from other veterans. Some thanked him for his fight, others shared their own pain, all of them felt seen. He picked up one that simply read, they treated me like I didn't belong. But now I know, I do. He placed it beside his Bronze Star, not because it was a trophy, but because it was a reminder, respect is not earned by wealth. It's owed to those who gave everything, and this time. It came with $1 billion price tag. Hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more intense stories like this.